focus on now the tax impact. See the tax impact on the employee side, because that is where employees might be uh, uh, keen to understand how when gratuity is paid by the organization, how it will be impacting them in filing their return in their income tax computation. So if you look at provisions of the Income Tax Act, they say that yes, gratuity forms part of the salary. It will be chargeable to tax under the head salaries only. But then there are exemptions under Section 10, which have been carved out. And there are two buckets I will consider. Of course, gratuity payment to government employees is exempt. But if I see it more so from the private sector perspective, so if we look at the first bucket, it says the gratuity which is received by an employee where employee is covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act. Then in such a case, the least of the following is exempt from tax, which is this 15-day salary, as well as there's a statutory limit of 20 lakhs and gratuity which is actually received. So whatever is the least of the amount, that will be exempt, and the delta figure will be treated as a taxable income. Now there's a second bucket, and many times I've been asked this question as to what this second bucket is all about. I'll tell you very quickly. But if you look at the formula, apparently it looks exactly the same. They are using 15-day salary. It talks about in a half month salary only, and then there's 20 lakhs. Everything looks the same, but again we have to look at a fine print. First of all, what it says is the second bucket. So in case of gratuity received by an employee where the employer is not covered under the Payment of the Gratuity Act, so these are any other, or you can say residuary cases. Now what are those cases? Is basically those companies who are not limiting the payment of gratuity to a statutory limit of 20 lakhs. So those are those companies who are making payment of gratuity not under the PJ Act, but rather providing a beneficial terms of gratuity. So if you look at a very fine print and a strict interpretation, wherever companies are not limiting their gratuity payment to 20 lakhs, then for them, while they are doing the computation, they will have to factor this particular subsection when they are calculating the calculation amount. Now, one can say there's hardly a difference, be it this subsection 2 or subsection 3. We can do with the first one only. The answer is no, because if we closely look, they are using the word half month salary for every completed year of service, basis average salary for the last 10 months. So in the first bucket, the salary will be your last drawn basis. In the second bucket, the salary will be based on your average salary. Okay, so obviously your salary amount, if we work it out on an average basis, may decrease to some extent because you are averaging it out. The second important factor is they're using again in the former bucket, the formula is 15 by 26. Here they are using half month, so it will be 1 by 2 or 15 by 30. That will be there. Another thing is the completed year of service in the first bucket is, so let's suppose if a person has rendered a service of 6 years 7 months, in the first bucket it will be construed as 7 years. In the second bucket it will be construed as only 6 years, because a fraction of that thing is something which will be not considered. Bottom line is, it might so happen that in the second bucket, the amount of exemption that you get might not be that much. Okay, as a result of which, if you still go with the first bucket, then you will be basically paying less taxes or deducting less taxes as compared to the first bucket, or rather second bucket. So this is where the key difference is. Of course, depending upon the facts and circumstances of the situation, one would need to look at those numbers before we finally conclude. But this is purely based on our practical experience that we have seen that companies will have to follow this particular third or the second bucket wherever they are not limiting the payment of gratuity to the statutory limit.